3, 2, go.
Hey everybody, welcome to Keeping It 100. I'm your girl, Miss Ursula. We are in our brand new studio. We're still getting things set up, but this is our first in studio interview with my homegirl, my friend from back in the day when we were in like kindergarten together, Miss Shonda Sene. Thank you so much for coming to. We have been waiting for you to come to this show.
Oh, I've been
And
so busy.
I will shout out to Maurice because he was the first one. He's like, you know what? You know who'd be a perfect person to interview? Shonda. I'm like, you know what? You are absolutely right. And from that day forward, we have been really trying to get you in here, and because you have a unique, interesting, dynamic story in your life, like from all the way growing up. You had so much to tell and so much to share, and a lot of times people, like we talked about it, don't share their experiences,
That's right.
but it can be so helpful to other people. All right, so before we get into all of that, we did grow up together in Grimes, in North Carolina. We went to GR Whitfield. You know, say what was it? It wasn't the Bobcats. What was it? It was the
Cougars.
Cougars. That's what it was. The Cougars. We were Cougars from back in the day.
That's right.
We did grow up. You grew up the Grimes and Bridge Road.
Yeah.
Yes. And what was your home church called?
Firstborn Holiness Church.
Firstborn Holiness Church.
Yes.
See, I remember. I just remember the name.
Right.
But just tell us a little bit about your life growing up and how you came to be Shonda.
Oh, okay. Well, as you already alluded, I grew up in Grimesland, North Carolina, and I still tell people that's my home.
Yeah.
Even when I moved away to the big city of Greenville, Grimesland was still my home.
Yeah.
So I've been in Grimesland like all my life.
Yeah.
My parents, I'm the oldest of 11.
11. Wait,
11.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Because I remember you having a lot of brothers and sisters, but I did not know it was 11.
There are 11 of us. We're all still living, thank the Lord.
Thank the Lord.
There's 7 girls and 4 boys.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we all grew up on Lancelot Street.
Okay.
That's where we were. And my mom and dad, I always have to tell people that because they always ask me, so you're in the house with your dad? I'm like, Papa wasn't a Rolling Stone. Like,
thank you. People don't believe that we had dads in the home back in the day.
Exactly.
But that was a blessing.
It was truly a blessing.
We don't realize how blessed we were back in the day to not be the typical household now.
That's correct. That is
because
correct.
we did have both parents in the home, both mom and dad, and the home cooked meals.
Oh yes, of course. And my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom, of course, because she couldn't afford daycare with 11 kids. So she's a stay-at-home mom. So growing up in Grimesland was that foundation for me. You know, it has afforded me the life, the things that I'm doing now because of the work that was grounded in me as a little girl. There's some things you just never forget,
Yeah.
So the things that my father taught me about doing right by people, and so those things that you just never forget. Growing up. And with the 11 kids, I must say I am the oldest.
Ain't nothing like being the oldest.
Number one. And my siblings hate that. I remember I used to have them call me Big Sister Gorgeous One, and they still do that today when they want something.
You really made them say that?
Big Sister Gorgeous One. They had to say that.
They know where you got that from?
Oh, yes. No, they did not.
They did.
I only told them later in life, but where do you think it came from?
Now, the first time I ever heard it was on Is It Different World?
It is a different world.
Mrs. Whitley Gilbert.
Miss Whitley Gilbert, you got it.
That was one of my favorite shows back in the day. One of my favorite shows. I can watch the reruns right now.
I do it right now.
People don't get it, but that really, which goes to show you the difference between the things we saw growing up and the things our kids see, because now they're reality TV and it's all about fighting and all this other stuff. When we grew up, everybody wanted to go to Hillman.
Exactly.
Because that's what HBCU life was going to be about. But we don't have to they don't have that now.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
But after growing up in such a big household, I know it was kind of strange going off on your own because we did. Both of us went to D.H. Conley.
Mhm.
Shout out to the Vikings,
Yeah.
class of '88.
Yeah.
I tell everybody they get mad because I'm like, I hate to tell y'all, but the class of '88 was probably the best class to come out of college. I don't know what it was, but if you look at us compared to everybody else, no shade, but we all look really good to have graduated from '88.
Exactly.
They don't understand, but you know, we're gonna let that ride. But I know we both went to Conley, and what was Conley like going from Chicago and being in Grimesland to go into? And I know because you was holding a lot, you guys didn't do a lot of the other stuff that everybody else didn't do.
Oh yes, that was different, and I didn't know the difference until I got to school. I didn't know the difference because I was poor when I got to school, but being at home, we had everything. I mean, there was not one day we went without food. We had shoes. We had clothes. We had everything. But it was only till I got to school that I know that, gosh, you were poor.
Well, you know what? People think that.
Right.
But like you said, we had all
But we had everything. Right.
But when you start comparing yourself to other people who may have been in a different financial bracket, you know, it was like they may have had more expensive things.
Right.
But we still had what we needed, and what, you know, we had all of what we needed and most of what we wanted.
That's correct. That is correct. And especially when I would hear my friends, the girls, who would say, you know, I went shopping with my mom. I've never been shopping with my mother.
Really?
Growing up, I've never been shopping. Because my mom, most of our clothes were from hand-me-downs and things of that nature. And so I've never been shopping with her until I got older. But growing up, that never happened. Like, we didn't pick out our clothes. So when I would hear that, I thought, gosh, that must be so nice. Wow. But I know, like you said, the difference there is not having the expensive things, but I was rich in family because I had my mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles. I mean, we had a great time growing up. I didn't miss any of that, you know.
And I think what these kids miss, and I try to instill this in my kids right now, family is everything.
Everything.
I mean, when and I remember some of my best memories were being at home, and when it did snow back in the day, and my dad would have the wood cut, and we would have the fireplace going, and we'd be watching TV, and my mom would go outside and get the ice, you know, the snow, and she'd make that snow cream. And, but it wasn't that it was such a big deal, but we were home, we were safe, we were fed, we were happy, and that's what means the most.
Exactly.
And I know coming, you know, like you said, we grew up kind of in the same era. That had to be a little culture shock going to high school.
Yes. Simply because growing up in the church that I grew up in, Firstborn Holiness Church, which is a foundation, and I never neglect that foundation, never to say, well, because of them, I didn't have, because that's not true. With the teaching that was taught there, that women could not wear pants, we could not wear makeup, we could not wear earrings and things of that nature. And so with that, walking in that high school and seeing all these people with all these different things on, which is why the friend that I had, which is Arlethea Barr, shout out to Arlethea. Yes, both of our friends.
One of my best friends growing up. Shout out to Arlethea.
Her mom taught her where they were in the very same thing. She could not wear pants. She could not wear earrings. So we were more close. We were all friends, but I was more close to Arlethea because when we got together, we were picking out skirts and you know, the pants and things that we could not wear. Right. And it was only when I got to shout her out too. Shout out to Miss Tara Wright.
Hey, Tara.
It was only when I got to her house, she was like, Sean, you putting on this, you putting on that, you putting on this. So she would show me how to do my makeup. Her mom, which Miss Marjorie, was a beautiful woman. And I remember her doing Soul Train line with us, which I could never do at home.
and that was the big thing back then. Soul Train was the be-all end-all.
Yes. And so she would get in there and do the Soul Train line with us, which is where I first heard She's a Bad Mama Jamma. And I
telling
remember
our age now. You really, I know 88 told it, but you telling our age now,
She's
bam,
a bad
bam,
Mama Jamma. And I remember Miss Margie would show us how to dance, and I had great times. I remember those times, and yeah, so it was different. So when I got back home, yeah, I had to be that Shonda.
You had to go
the
back.
quiet Shonda.
Yeah, get to go back. Yeah,
yeah.
I get it.
But I never neglected those things. I'm very grateful for the upbringing that I've had. It has made me the person that I am.
And I think, being in high school and you did get that culture shock, how long did it take you, I guess, to be able to show that side at home?
Well, I couldn't.
Oh, okay.
I could never do that.
Okay.
Never do that.
Okay.
It was only when I went to Tara's house. Tara was a villain.
Tara was the out. You were her out. Her out, and she could be herself at your house. I get it.
So I could never do that.
Okay.
So I know there were some times when I remember when my parents would go to these yard sales. They would have on Wednesdays at the 8 and I don't know if they still have those. They still have those. And I remember my parents used to go there. And so I would tell my brothers and sisters, get outside. And Soul Train's coming on. New Edition is going to be up there today, And so I would tell them, get outside. I need to listen.
85. Yes, ma'am. Candy Girl gave us life.
Oh, my goodness.
We all thought we dated New Edition.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
True.
I'm sorry. It was that girl that they was all talking about in their videos.
Exactly, no doubt.
So you really kind of you had that outlet, when you were with your friends, that you could be yourself, and not really be yourself, but you can have that other version of yourself.
Right, exactly.
And so did your sisters and brothers kind of fall?
Not at all.
They didn't.
They did not.
Oh wow! So you're the only one that got to be able to go out. Okay. Because we the oldest, so we do get to test the waters a little bit.
Had to test the waters, right?
And I know. So what did you really do? Like high school, what was your thing in high school?
Absolutely nothing.
But I know you was a great student.
But as far as only because we're not allowed to wear pants, so I couldn't do cheerleading. The skirts were too short.
Way too short, especially college cheerleading.
Exactly. So I could never play any sports because we couldn't wear the pants.
Okay.
So we always had to wear the skirts.
Okay.
And so my mom, she had an alternative for it, which is it's like a suit she had us to put on. I'm like, we're like, Mom, it's not the same. It's not the same. And so I would never wear it. So, I've never been a sports person because of that, because we couldn't wear the pants.
You know what? I do remember you guys when we were doing PE. You'd have the skirts on, but then you have something under.
Yes, she would make us wear these.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call them, body suits or something.
Yeah.
She said, so the little boys won't see your underwear. I'm like, it's not the same, Mom. It's not the same. And I was so embarrassed. I'm like, it's not the same. It's not the same. And I remember,
but you know what? We didn't think anything about it because we grew up with you.
Exactly.
And so we always saw you in skirts. You and Debbie.
Yeah.
We always saw you guys in skirts. So it was just a norm for us. And I think it never dawned on me that other people would think it's strange.
Right.
Because that's what we've ever known. And so not being able to have that kind of, I guess freedom throughout school, it was a little challenging.
A little. But my mom, I did, because when I got home, she would always tell us, but the Lord wants you to live this way, and so you guys kind of felt good about that because we were always in church. Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and don't let convocation come around. Oh my goodness.
or the week or the summer
vacation Bible school.
Yeah, summer vacation Bible school.
So you just felt like, okay, she's mom, she knows what she's talking about. So it was different. So I didn't feel like I missed anything at all.
Yeah. Well,
I did not.
Well, she made it so that you felt comfortable in your own skin.
Exactly.
So that's a good thing.
Exactly.
Okay. So, and I know going into high school, I know that is where you met Derek.
That's true. In the 11th grade.
11th grade. It was 11th grade?
It was the 11th
Why did we think you guys dated the whole time we was in school?
No.
Maybe we were just so used to seeing you guys together.
We were together all the time.
All the time.
And that's because Derek was he was an exceptional student.
Yeah.
He was one of
he
those
was
students.
very smart.
Yeah, that he was in I forgot to AG classes or something. And I remember he used to come to. He was like, the teacher's gonna let me out. I'm like, no, they should be doing that. And he was like, watch this, and they would just let him out of class
Because he was always in class.
Because
He was a good student.
right.
He followed the rules.
Right.
So they allowed and there was a couple of them.
Right, exactly.
Especially the superstar athletes.
And Derek was twofold because he was academically
baseball,
and then
baseball.
he was sports, right?
Yeah.
Baseball, football.
Yeah.
I
He didn't
don't
play
believe he
basketball.
played
It was football and
baseball,
baseball.
Yes, right.
And he was an academic scholar.
Right.
So he really pretty much had the free reign to kind of do what he wanted to do.
Whatever.
You know, and I'm just like,
whatever.
how did he get out of class so much? The only way I got out of class was RTC.
Right.
I come shout out to you know what he's passed away. He passed away a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Sergeant Garner,
Yeah.
one of my favorite teachers.
Right.
That's the only way I got out of class is to go to because Miss Leary.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Elmer. Miss Leary will let you go nowhere. She was in that hallway like, where you going?
Where you going?
But so
true.
I know you guys met earlier, but you started dating in 11th grade.
Right. So because I met him early because I knew who he was. Like everybody knew who he was.
Oh, everybody knew who he was
because he played these sports, and Conley loved him. Everybody knew him, you know. And then he was actually friends. Well, later I found out with Moses. And my condolences to the family. Moses Howard.
Moses Howard, yeah, definitely Moses Howard.
Right.
He passed away a couple weeks ago, about a month ago. A month ago, and that was a shock. I know he'd been sick,
right? But knowing past that they were family. They were
really.
Derek and Moses were nephew and his uncle. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Right. Yeah. So
so
I had
okay.
Yeah, exactly. So Moses' mother was Derek's mother. Moses' sister, Miss Bertha, was Derek's mother.
Wow.
Yes.
Like uncle and nephew. That close.
Wow. Right. So I had known who Derek was because everybody knew Moses, and we hang out with Moses, talk to Moses, whatever, you know. And so I known him, but we didn't start dating until the 11th grade.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know.
Because
I was talking to my brother. Shout out to James. James Smith. He's in Simpson. You know, he's
That's
like
my brother too.
When is Shonda gonna be on the show? Because I want to ask her some questions. I'm like, oh Lord. I said, can you tell me what you're gonna ask first? He's like, no, you're gonna get surprised. Like, no.
I love him. That was my brother throughout high school. I've always wanted an older brother, and James was it.
James, shout out to my brother. He's a good guy. But I when you started dating Derek, it was a shock because you were always very quiet. You were friends with everybody was friends with you. There was nobody that had a problem with you. And Derek was this guy, and she's very quiet. Derek was very outgoing. He was loud. He was, he not boisterous, but he was very known.
Right.
And I'm like, I said, Shonda's taking Derek. And he was like, yeah. I'm like, wait. So who approached who? Because I didn't want to ask.
I'm gonna tell you exactly what happened because it was a little shock to me because of who he was. Because Tara was like, Moses' nephew was asking about you. I'm like, who? She's like, Derek, he was asking about you. So he said his mom told him, if you want a good wife, you need to marry a church girl.
So Tara is responsible for
Tara's
this.
responsible for that.
So Tara, because we was like, well, Tara, you didn't hook nobody else up but Shonda. Okay, we get it. Okay,
right.
But, so wait a minute. So it was just that simple.
It was just that simple, and he was like, so you're the church girl. And let me just clarify, not Beyonce's church girl.
Oh Lord, no, not her, not that church girl.
Yes, and that's what he approached me with, and he was like, yeah, my mom said I should be dating a church girl, So that's how we met.
Just that simple.
That was really weird.
I used to think like something happened, some elaborate, whatever happened. Just that simple.
Just that simple. And
men do not listen to their moms, I guess, because
And it was so amazing because I'm like, gosh. Now, I mean, I didn't have low self-esteem, but it was Derek.
But
You know,
you were quiet.
yeah, and he was just outgoing. Everybody knew him. Like, so every time they would see me, they say, "Oh, that's Derek's girlfriend." I didn't have a name.
Nope.
I was just Derek's
Nope.
girlfriend.
Isn't it
You know,
irritating
it
though?
was very irritating.
It's very irritating. If I heard that's Derek's girlfriend one more time, I'm like, I'm
Right.
older than he is. So how that should be my boyfriend, you know. But so when you guys started dating, I know because you kept such a low profile,
Mhm.
how did you cope with being in that? Because you were in the spotlight quite a bit. Because like I said, during baseball season, during football season, Derek's name was mentioned 1,000 times in school. So how did you deal with being in the spotlight after being so low profile for so long?
I didn't like it. I did not like it. But he used to tell me, get used to it, because he was going to be in the NBA. He was going to be in the NFL.
We
He was
did.
like, get used to it. You're going to be in the NFL.
we literally, I think it was shout out to my brother. If we didn't think anybody else was going to go pro, it was Derek. It was Troy Ebron.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it was my brother. It's about three more that's on that was on the basketball team that won the championship that year. I can't think of off the top of my head. Sorry, guys. But we just knew that that era was going to turn out so many professional. And I think not Rashawn. One of them did play in the like play professional baseball. He got his number retired at Connolly. I'm sorry, I was gonna come to me, but I do remember his. I remember, and I shout out to him. That one with Sean, it was I can't think of his name. It'll come to me. But anyway, so when you got used to, did you ever get used to being with?
Yes, I got used to it really quick because it was nice. It was really nice because, like I said, he would always go on these trips with me. I got to go to these events, dinner events where they were honoring him and he was VIP. So it was very nice, you know. It's a little cool hanging out with the cool kid, you know.
Yeah.
So
that's how it was. It was just how it was back then because he was the center of attention for our era.
Very much
so. And I know after graduation, how did things go with you guys? Because I was shocked when I heard you guys got married.
Well, again, he said his mom said if he's gonna marry anybody, it should be a church girl. And so we decided, you know, that's what we wanted to do. We had sat. I remember being at his mom's house one night, and we were on the front porch, and we had just planned out our lives on that front porch. And he was like, "Well, if you're gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. We should be fine and everything." So when we told our parents, his mother cried. His mother did cry, and she was like, "Are you sure?" They didn't call him.
She was crazy about you then.
Oh, she was really nice. She was a really nice lady. They call him Doe Earl. That's what they call him. And she's like, "Are you sure, Doe Earl?" He was like, "Mom, I'm sure. You know." And so my parents, they were like, "If this is what you want to do, you know, we can't stop you. You're grown. This is what you want to do." And so that's how it was. And so we ended up getting married in my my parents' backyard.
Okay.
And I had Tara was one of my bridesmaids. Arlethea was a bridesmaid. So
what year was that?
In 1988.
Wait. So after graduation?
After graduation, I got married July the 17th, 1988.
No, that was right after, because graduation was June 8th.
Right.
Oh my God!
Right after graduation, so we had our lives planned out on like sitting on his mom's porch outside one day, and then we decided to do it, and that's what we did.
Okay. Now I didn't know. I was thinking you were gonna say 88, maybe like 89, 90.
No.
Wow, like right out of high school.
Right out of high school.
So now I know things were going great for you guys.
They were.
And I know something happened with Derek.
A lot of people, and no disrespect to his family, but a lot of people thought that something happened to him. But I'm here. I want to set that record straight. Absolutely nothing had happened to him.
So let me tell you. I know you know the story.
Right.
We heard it was a car accident.
Okay.
And he damaged his head.
Okay.
And that, he had to get a plate and all that. That's the whole entire story that was going around.
Mhm.
Because when this happened, I had left. I was in the military,
Mhm.
and I think I was away from home, and I came home on leave, and I heard it.
Mhm.
And I was like, "What?"
Mhm.
And so that's what I heard about it.
Mhm.
So there was no accident.
Well, let me clarify.
Okay.
If there was an accident,
Mhm.
but when the all the domestic violence things happened, that was before the accident.
Oh,
So
okay.
that had nothing to do with the accident.
Okay.
It's just that I was very quiet. I didn't tell anyone, and I went about my life.
Mhm.
And at this time, we are both in church, and Derek's a minister. And
Really?
I really
Did not know that.
yes, he was a minister. He preached every second and fourth Sunday. And he was the prize. I don't know. I shouldn't say prize. It's because we were the youngest ones in the church.
Mhm.
Is that my bishop at that time? He was really grooming him, you know, because he was so young, and he really took on to my pastor. Derek at one point did belong to Philip High,
Okay.
and Bishop Randall Roy.
Yeah.
Bishop
Mhm.
Randall
Randall Roy.
Roy was the one that married us, and so Derek still had still was, you know, gravitating to Bishop, but he loved my bishop, Bishop James L. Smith. He loved him.
Okay.
And so Bishop allowed him, I mean, it was his prize student, if you will,
Mhm.
you know. And so the accident occurred after that, but before there was nothing going on. And a lot of people ask me that, like, oh, Shonda, it's because of the accident. I'm like, guys, it wasn't. I was a quiet person, and I felt like I had to be because of the position that he was in.
Mhm.
I could not say anything, you know, because I knew that he would lose his seat in the church because my bishop was not going to go for that. He was not going to go for that.
So, what do you think? How did it go from? Because from what I saw
Mhm.
in school,
Mhm.
he was this doting, caring,
Mhm.
affectionate boyfriend, and like we envied. Like he was like he was his pride and joy.
Mhm.
You know. So how did it go from that to domestic violence?
Very weird because I don't remember like how it all started other than I remember one day coming home from work and he had asked me to fix something and I was like, you know what, let me call my auntie because I don't know how to quite do that. And he showed me, you don't know that, what the hell's wrong with you, you should be able to do that. And I'm like, no, I don't know how to do that. You know, just play it.
Yeah.
And it came from this.
Oh,
And
really?
yes, it came
Something
from
as
you don't
simple
know
as that.
as simply as that. It's like you don't know how to do that. I'm like, no, but let me call my auntie because you know I'm living in the community where I still have my aunts, my uncles, you know, everybody still my grandmothers, and I would call them if I didn't know how to fix something. They would fix it for me and bring it over, you know. So I didn't know, and so he really pushed, but he really got upset, and from that he slapped me. So I don't know. He did, of course, apologize for that. He was like, oh, you know what? I'm just out, beside myself, overworked. I feel like that, Shonda, and he apologized. And that's how it was. And I'm thinking, gosh, I better get this recipe right.
Yeah.
Honest to goodness, I wasn't thinking that, that he would do it again. I'm just saying, boy, let me get that recipe
Because he
right.
was
Because he was
upset.
upset about
Yeah.
that. Something I couldn't fix. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I couldn't fix it. And I'm like, let me call my aunt about it, you know? And so that's how it occurred. No car accident had happened then. It's just that, like I said, I was very quiet about it. I didn't want to talk about it.
Mhm.
And I thought within myself I could handle it, but
Oh wow. Okay, so like that is something that nobody knew.
Yeah.
And you kind of kept that quiet.
Oh yes, I did.
And I was a minister's wife too. And a lot of times, we take a second the back seat to church.
Right.
And we feel like we should protect the image
That's correct.
that they have,
That's correct.
you know. And a lot of times, people just want, I don't know whether it's accountability.
Mhm.
I think not holding somebody accountable
Hmm.
kind of allows the second stage.
That's correct.
And so, because do you think keeping quiet did that?
Oh yes, of course. Yes, of course. But I grew up in a home with my mom and my dad. Now by this time I've already had my daughter.
Mhm.
And I grew up in a home with a mom and a dad. So I don't know about this, as a single mom.
Yeah.
I was never there. And so I just continued to do what I thought a woman should do.
Mhm.
And I never said anything. Well, one, because I was afraid of my father. Very afraid of what he would do.
Mhm.
So I didn't want daddy to get into any trouble over me. So I would keep quiet. And from there, of course, I would hide bruises. I would hide cuts and anything. I would go around the family and it was like, Shonda, what's going on? I was like, oh, I'm just tired. Or, Derek and I decided to do something else, which I know they thought that was strange. But covering him made it worse.
Mhm.
Made it an absolute worse. And I remember one time at the church, and if I start to cry, you have to forgive me.
You got me crying already, so go ahead. 'Cause I'm in total shock right now.
Because I remember one time at the church when I came in, and he had to preach that Sunday. And so the minister's wife had to sit on the front row.
Mhm.
And so I would
Yeah.
sit on the front row. Now he will always get upset with me if I didn't say an amen or clap. It was kind of hard to do that when you just got beaten before you came to church. So it was kind of hard
Before
to do that
church?
before church. And it was really hard to do that. And so I remember getting up and walking in the bathroom crying. My aunt came behind me and she's like, "What is wrong with you? What is going on?" My family thought I was going through postpartum
Mhm.
depression because I just had my baby, my daughter Alexis at this time. And she thought I was going to postpartum depression. And I began to tell her, no, it's not. I'm just tired of this because Derek hit me. She said, "He did what?" I said, "Yeah, he did." And someone came up to me before I went to the bathroom and said, "You must be the luckiest person, or the luckiest wife in the world." And that's what got me really upset because I'm like, how am I lucky? This man beats me all the time. And so my aunt said to me, Shonda, she doesn't know how you live behind closed doors. She doesn't know that. And so it was there I began to put things into perspective that a lot of people didn't know, what was going on because first of all, I didn't want them in my business.
Yeah.
And I thought I could really handle it myself. I honestly thought I could handle it myself. And then try to find out what was going on, like what was triggering him, what things of that nature. But it wasn't until after the shooting that I actually realized what was going on.
So you pretty much kept quiet until then.
Yes, I did.
Now, did your aunt share that with the family?
No, she did not.
Okay.
I asked her to not do that. And I trusted that she did not because, again, I'm afraid of my father, what he would do, or my cousins,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't want them
we both
involved.
came from pretty large families.
Right. And I did not want them involved.
Yeah.
So that was very hard for me. Just living with the enemy.
Yeah.
Living with him every single day, and then have to go to church, be around when we have convocation, when we have these nightly service, and just trying to be that loving wife. Because outside he was the most loving person, and I would look at him like, "Gosh, where does this man come from?"
Mhm.
But when we got home, if I didn't do something right, or if I didn't clap the right way, if I didn't say amen the right way that he wanted to, I will gotta be. And I knew it was coming.
When I tell you, I had no idea, and to have to live in that kind of almost like a prison.
Yeah. Oh yes, it was. Oh yes, it was.
Because you're to be acting 24/7 when you're in public, it got to be exhausting.
very much so. And it wasn't until what you know already alluded to the accident that he had, and I punished, well, not punish, I beat myself up for
Mhm.
not leaving because at this time my son is born. And so we have a son, we have two children together. And so when he was in the accident, I beat myself up because I felt like I should have just left.
Mhm.
I should have left,
Mhm.
but I didn't. I stayed by his side. He was in a coma for 3 weeks.
Okay, this was the accident.
This is the car
Car
accident
accident. Okay.
that he was
Okay.
in. That he was in that car accident. He actually fell asleep. I remember he fell asleep at the wheel, and he had a sunroof there. Didn't have on his seatbelt, so when he rolled off the side of the road, he hit something. I think a tree. Not it wasn't a tree, like a stump or something.
Mhm.
It flew, and when it did, he went out of the yes, and so he didn't have on a seatbelt. And so he was in a coma for 3 weeks. So I know, like you stated already, that a lot of people thought he was doing these things because of the accident. He was doing these things before the accident. I was just a very silent person. I just didn't tell anybody.
And a lot of people, like you say, you should have left then.
I should have left.
But
then.
the wife that you were,
Oh,
you felt dedicated to
I
stay
did.
and
I
help.
I did. I really did. I thought, I felt like I was abandoning him, and I did not want to do that. I felt I was abandoning my marriage, my children, and the father that he has because he was a horrible husband, but he
Mhm.
was a great father.
Mhm.
He was
Mhm.
a great father to those
Mhm.
kids.
Mhm.
And so I felt like I wasn't giving my kids what I had growing up,
Mhm.
and I felt
Guilty.
extremely guilty about
Very
that.
guilty.
But I was there every day, reading scripture, praying. As a nurse now, I know that if someone's in a coma, they still hear you. They still hear what you're saying. And so I would pray and read scripture. And
Mhm.
one day he woke up. I hate to tell you what he said. His brother Jeffrey was standing in the room, and when I came in, because I wasn't there, but his brother was there, and when he came in, he was like, "Dora, open his eyes." So, so when he opened his eyes, he said something. I'm like, "Oh my goodness."
Okay. now you really like this is almost like a movie from Lifetime. Like you
He opened his eyes and he said, "Brother, I haven't slept with my wife in 3 weeks." So we all walk in the room, and Jeffrey was
okay,
like, "Did you hear what this boy just said?"
So
So I'm like,
basically
good grief.
he's laying in a coma
Right.
and he's counting the days
I
that
mean,
he's been
like,
sitting
how in the
there
world did he know this?
waiting like, wait a minute, okay, I need to hurry up and wake up
Right,
so I can go
exactly.
home. Wow.
Right, exactly.
What
Exactly.
so now once he woke up, and this is another thing that I was told, or the
Mm-hmm.
rumor that was going around,
Mm-hmm.
that you helped him learn how to do a lot of things over again.
Sure did.
Oh, so that is true.
That is very true.
Oh,
And again, I was just doing what I was supposed to do as a
as a
wife,
wife.
you know. But then the beatings just started again. After he got really back on his feet, they just started again. And I cannot tell you what trigger. I mean, it was like walking on eggshells in my
I'm
home.
confused
I
though.
cannot tell you that. I have no idea. I don't know exactly what triggered him. It's just that I have to always be very careful about what I say. I don't know. It could be anything, but I don't know the words that I could actually remember that would trigger him from me not to get hit.
Because it was never the same thing.
Never the same thing. Oh my God. Never the same thing. It could be I could be in the mall, and if someone who I've known forever came up to me and it's like, "Girl, you look good." Of course, a man.
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, you sleeping with him now? You
Now,
doing this? You do?" Oh my
now
goodness! And
I
I'm
will
like,
tell you,
"Gosh,
I heard that.
yeah,
I heard that he became extremely jealous.
yes." But that was before the accident. All this happened before the accident.
Accident.
So I know everybody thought, this was going on because this, but it did not.
Well, and I think the reason why everybody did was because, like you said, you were living in this life by yourself.
By myself.
No one knew.
In the dark.
Because all we knew was the person that we went to school with.
Exactly.
And we had to, a person has to rationalize why a person does something different than what they've usually done.
Right.
And so I think a lot of people said, hey, it had to be the accident because he was always like this before. And so we've never known him to be like this. So something had to have happened, which was brain injury. And that's what the story that kind of circulated. I'm pretty sure you heard that.
You know, I watched a documentary on football players.
CTE.
Yes. And honestly, I'm not neuro or anything, but honestly, I believe there was something that was going on there that was probably not diagnosed. I do believe that. Derek had been playing football since he was 9 years old.
Hey, let me tell you, this is the first time that you said that. But I know my son played football, and that was the one when he transferred to baseball. Oh, I was so great. I'm a football fan fanatic. I love football. But I was so grateful that he went to baseball because there are so many documented cases of CTE, and CTE cannot be diagnosed while you're alive.
Right, exactly.
And so, that was the whole thing behind the wrestler who killed this whole family. And they can literally wiped his whole existence from WWE.
Right.
But now that you say that, it kind of falls in line and it makes sense that this person changed and was so violent afterwards because that's what it triggers. It triggers violence.
Right. And you have to understand also, he was a full-time minister, but Derek was playing at East Carolina University.
So he was still playing.
He was still playing football. He was a running back at East Carolina University.
Oh gosh.
So it wasn't until after nursing school. You try to put all these things like together,
yeah.
Like what happened here but honest to goodness, I think it was I forgot. I'm not a football player, don't know all of them. But I think his last name was Rodriguez something. And he was the person that they did a documentary on where he had developed he died. He killed himself. And this kid, maybe that's the same person that you're referring to.
What's his name?
I think his last name was Rodriguez. I don't know, but I remember watching Hernandez.
Yes, he played for the Patriots. Yes, one of my favorite team. Yes.
Now I know. Yeah, and so they found all these things, with his head and the injuries that he has sustained, and so. I mean, there's nothing, honestly, that has been documented about Derek, about these injuries. But honest to goodness, I really do think a lot of it had to stem from there because there was no rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
I mean, just
when
out of the blue.
Spontaneous.
Right, exactly. And like I said, he's been playing since he was 9 years old. And I remember him showing me a picture where he had actually fractured his femur, that fractured thigh bone. And he had to put it in a cast, which is why he could not join the army because he was growing. So one heel was higher than the other. He had to wear a shoe piece in his heel where he had to walk normal because he was limping.
Oh, wow. I did not know that either.
Yeah.
I didn't even know he was going to be going to the army.
Yeah, he would try to, but the military rejected him because of that. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So now after he wakes up, and you said you go home and you teach him, I think the story was you taught him how to kind of walk again, his speech and things like that. And things just went right back to where they were beginning.
Yes,
from the beginning.
Right from the beginning. Nothing had changed. And that's when I beat myself up because I should have left. I felt like I should have just walked out because things were, and I thought in my mind, even when he was on his bed, that things will change. And I was thinking that just praying to God that, maybe this is the miracle that I need, right here. And we know the Lord works in mysterious ways. And so I'm thinking, okay, this accident is going to change him. He's going to get up. He's going to do this, is that, and the third. My family is praying with him. His family is praying, And at this time, like I said, he has a young son and my daughter's just starting to walk. And, I was just hoping for a new life.
So they were very, very young.
Very young. Oh my goodness, yes, very young. So I was just praying for this new life, you know. But like I said, after he woke up, things had gotten, oh gosh, things went from 10 to 1,000 to at this point now, I could not stay.
Mm-hmm.
It
So that
really got rough.
at that point, you decided to leave.
I decided to leave. I think it was about maybe 8 months after the accident. Well, he was getting really good because he was going to therapy. We were doing all these things together. But after this time, about 8 months after that, I couldn't do it anymore. The beatings were getting so frequently, I just couldn't do it because I could not keep hiding bruises. I could not hide. And I remember one time going to pick, well, ECU Health now.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was pregnant and he had locked me out of the house for whatever reason I cannot remember. And I was trying to get into the house and he would not because it was dark outside. Oh, he would just drop me off anywhere. I mean, like tell me to get out of the car. I remember walking down the street in Winterville. The Lord
So
has
this was
had his hands on me.
psychological abuse too.
Oh my goodness.
Take your time. Take your time.
I'm sorry.
No, no. Let me tell you. First of all, after everything that you've been through,
I'm sorry.
even now clearing the whole rumors up,
Mm.
there is nothing for you to apologize for, to be upset. I mean, I understand you
Yeah.
being upset, but don't apologize for how you feel because you know we've all been in situations where, well, not all of us, but we do share. You know, I was abused.
Mhm.
You know, I was assaulted in the military, so I had to learn that my feelings are my feelings, and I have a right to feel exactly how I feel.
Yes, yes. So yes, a lot of mental, psychological abuse, a lot of that. To the point where I just whatever he wanted, I just did because I didn't know what he was thinking or where we were going at with this. So if he got tired of me, he would stop on the side of the road. Just get out. Just get out. And I had no way of just staying in the car because we're talking about a football player here. He's bigger than I am. He's really bigger than I am. So he would just push me out and I would just walk. Of course, there's no cell phone, there's no nothing. And I would walk on the side of the road praying to God that somebody that I know or somebody would pick me up. And I remember a man stopping and said, "You do not need to be out on this road. Get in this car." And I'm like, "Sir, I'm fine. I'm fine." I wouldn't get in the car. And I remember walking on the road in Evans Street, walking on that road, trying to get home, trying to get to a payphone where I can call my father. And I remember two men on the side of the road, and they were walking, laughing. I'm sure I don't know what they had in their mind, but I prayed to God that they were just going about their business. And I remember another guy came up and said, "You should be walking out here by yourself." And those guys, I remember, went on about their business, you know, and I was able to get to a payphone right there on Evans Street. I was able to get to a payphone and call my daddy. So my dad,
and that's what we call a hedge of protection.
Yes, it is.
That's what we call a hedge of protection.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I think, you know, we survived the things that we've survived, not because we were praying.
Yeah.
Because we had parents and grandparents that prayed for us constantly.
Yes.
So after what was the final decision that you just had to leave? The final
decision that I had to go was, I remember we were living on 10th Street in Cherry Hill Apartments. And I remember him coming home and telling my daughter, my son, he was a baby at this time. My daughter, I think she was about 2 or 3. And he was telling her to say some bad words. And she was saying, "Daddy, I don't want to say bad words." And he wanted her to say something about my father, which at this point he hated him. Well, he hated everybody in my family. There was nobody that he liked. And so, but my daughter refused to do so. And so when I came downstairs, I said, "Don't have her to do that, because if she, you know, just talking, you know." And then of course he turned his hatred, his bad words on me, and then that ensued a fight. And so after he, I think this is the only time I ever hit back too. I felt empowered. Like,
Yeah.
this has to stop, and I think because my daughter was watching, and I said to myself, I don't want her to grow up to think
This
this
is
is
okay.
normal,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not. I didn't grow up like that. I grew up in a 3 bedroom house, 2 bathrooms. I think the house is like 1,300 square feet with
Mm-hmm.
13 people. And I never, not once, saw my father hit my mother.
Mm-hmm.
The only time I saw my father put his hands on my mother was to grab her hand, kiss it, hold it, but no violence. And I said, this has to stop. And I remember walking on 10th Street. Oh, every time I go to Greenville, it just brings back so many memories.
Uh-huh.
I had my daughter in my hand, my son on my hip, and I pat what needed to be pat. And I went to that payphone on 10th Street and called my father. I said, Daddy, come pick me up. Now at this time, my family know what was going on at
Uh-huh.
this time.
Mm-hmm.
They knew what was going on. And so I told my daddy to come pick me up. And daddy, he said some choice things.
I'm
I was
pretty
like,
sure he
Daddy, just
did.
come pick me up. It's fine. It's fine. Because it was late. It was late. It's about 10, 11 o'clock. It was late. And so he came to pick me up. And so now I moved back into my parents' home. Refused at this time to go back because every time it was, Shonda, I apologize. I won't do this again.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed him. And this is what I really get upset when I hear people saying, why don't you just leave? Why don't you just leave? It's not
Not.
easy.
It's not that easy.
It is not at all. And so I tell people who've never been in any situation like this again, instead of you taunting or hounding this girl to leave or get out of this relationship, give her options, help her out.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, don't abuse her more and telling her you can do better. You
You're
can do
stupid.
no,
You need to.
exactly. Just help her.
Mm-hmm.
Just help her. You know. So at this point, like I said, I've decided this is it. This is it. So I moved back in with my parents, and it things just started escalating really bad because now he's coming up in the middle of the night slashing tires. Insurance got canceled. No insurance would take me because he would do things to my
But that
car.
wasn't your fault, though.
And no, but the insurance wouldn't do it. And I had to report it. So my daddy said, stop reporting it. Stop reporting it. And so I would used to sit up in the middle of the night because I was afraid that he would come. And I don't know. I just didn't want my family involved.
Yeah.
So that was just very scary for me. And so at this time, I decided to enroll in school at Pitt Community College because now I have these 2 kids that I need to take care of. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have any money coming in, and I needed to take care of my kids.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a car. He took everything, and to this day, I tell my daughter this to this day, and anybody that would listen, when you allow a man to take care of you,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's doing this, he's doing that for you, and everything. You also allow him to starve you
Yeah.
because those you have options. Because if he's feeding you, he'll say, "I'm not doing this," and now you have nothing.
Now you have nothing.
And I said, Shonda, I will look at myself in the mirror and say you would never do that again. You
Mm-hmm.
get once you get up on your feet, this is what's going to happen. And I would tell myself this is that and the third, but I'll never, never, never allow. And I'm not this independent woman that say I don't need a man,
Man. Mm-hmm.
but it's just that it was just too far because he handled everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when he handled everything, I left with nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Just the diaper bag that was on my arm and my 2 kids. That's all I had because he was like, I bought that. I bought this. I bought this. I had nothing. So even the car that we had, he bought it. He took it. It was in his name. I couldn't take it. Even
Wow.
though I had the job and he was playing football, he could just go on campus and just, do anything. But he took it, you know. And so I said, once I get up on my feet, I would never allow this to happen
Yeah.
again. But it was hard coming from that because now I'm a single mom and I don't know anything about being a single mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know anything about being a single mom. It's very hard
Well,
for me.
let me tell you the one thing about being a single mom. You know, you're single, you're single. And I hate to say single mom because you have a whole family
Yes,
behind you. There
that's
is
true.
nothing that you can't need or ask for
Right,
that your family's not going to help you with.
right,
So don't ever think you're by yourself. I used to think that way, and I realized that my kids have never gone without.
right.
Between my dad, my mom, my sister, my in-laws,
Mm-hmm.
whatever my kids need, if I'm falling short, and I feel guilty because they're mine.
Right, right.
But my family says, look, hey, we got you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you have a huge family. And I
Oh my
know, shout out to your sister, Nat, we all went to school together.
Yeah.
They got you.
Yes. Yeah.
So don't ever feel like you're
Oh
by
yeah, they
yourself.
did. They did. And I felt that after um the shooting,
Mm-hmm.
because that was the end game to that, was that shooting. So when I enrolled at Pitt Community College,
Mm-hmm.
and he was very upset about this. Now he can come and see the kids like on weekends and things like that. He didn't want that. So he has supervised visitation because he was so outraged. So I mean, he would just wanted to fight anybody that he could fight.
Really?
Yes. I mean,
So it wasn't just directed
enraged.
towards you at that time.
At that time, no, because he had supervised visits for his kids, and he did not want that. I would never hurt my kids. Who said I would hurt my kids? But I was afraid because I thought that he would take them and I would never see them again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked for supervised visitations, and he cannot stand that. I knew he was a good father, but I thought he would take them and I would never see them again. Never.
Mm-hmm.
So at this time, I enrolled at Pitt Community College, and I was trying to get into that nursing program.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him being very upset to me. And I tell people all the time, you know, mental abuse is so much worse than physical
Mm-hmm.
abuse. Because physical, I can show you every scar on my body and it has healed.
Mm-hmm.
But that mental abuse, I dealt
Stays
with it
with
for
you.
years.
It stays with
It
you.
was something, I mean, I had to see therapists with, because his voice was always in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I did, everything he used to tell me that I was not good at, or I couldn't do, or you're not pretty, you would never do this, you're not smart. I mean, just so many different things, and I believed it. I actually believed it,
Mm-hmm.
and it kept me back from um getting ahead, because I believe what he said. I even enrolled into LPN school, and I was 3 months from graduating and dropped out because I listened to that voice, his voice in my head, that I wouldn't be able to do this, and that I wasn't smart. They just giving you this, and I mean, just so much stuff. And mental abuse it is the worst kind of abuse.
Yeah.
And so I healed from these scars
Yeah.
on me. But that mental abuse, it took
Stays.
years.
Yeah.
It took years because I had to learn how to not listen to what he said and to apply what God said.
Mm-hmm.
God said that I was a lender and not a borrower.
Borrower.
God said that I was fearfully and wonderfully
Wonderfully
made.
made.
I had to believe those
Mhm.
things, because if not, it would take me under. Because I never believed that I could do anything past what he was giving me.
But now you see how that goes back to how we were brought up in
Right,
the beginning.
right,
And said, train up a child in the way that they should go. When they're old, they won't depart, because you had it in you.
right,
And you had to literally go back to that source
right.
to block out what the enemy was telling
That's
you.
correct. That is correct.
So now, take us back to, I guess, that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you were in school.
Mm-hmm.
He had been banned from campus.
That's correct.
And they were told, you were told to park. There's an article. You were told to
Mhm.
park near the
Mhm.
campus and
That's
by
correct.
the police station.
Yes.
And so, how did he, if he was banned from coming out there? And I know read that they had actually apprehended him once and made him leave.
That is correct.
So he just came back.
Yeah, because a piece of paper don't stop nobody.
No.
I mean,
At all.
I mean, he could do whatever he wanted to. That piece of paper don't do anything. And if you're, criminals, they don't follow the law.
No, you're a
They
criminal.
just do whatever.
You're there because you didn't follow the law to begin with.
Exactly. So he wasn't following anything. So yeah, he always came back. And so it was this particular day, February the 3rd,
Mhm.
1993, on a Wednesday morning at 11 o'clock.
I was on my way to class, and my car was parked by the the police campus
Okay.
police. But it was that day he stole tags off my car. And so my father said, you have to go to DMV and let them know. So he put like this cardboard in the
Uh-huh.
back
Mhm.
and said, you have to go to DMV. I said, well, I got some time between classes and I'll do that. And I remember one of my friends, Dietrich, she said, let me go with you. I said, no, I'm fine. Because I know in times past, when I have somebody with me, oh, he just furious. He don't care who's around. He'll beat them too if he need to. So I was afraid for her. I
Mhm.
did not want her around. And I thank God she never came. Because if I would have to live with
Her
if something
happened.
happened to her, I would have to live with that for the rest of my life. And she had children. I would have to live with that for the rest of my life. And I told her, no, I'm fine. And I didn't have a lot of friends because of this, because I
Mhm.
was always afraid he was going to find me somewhere.
So you kind of isolated
Oh,
yourself,
yes, I did. Oh, I was by myself a lot.
which is what he wanted.
Yeah, that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I was on my way back from the DMV to class, and when I was walking up to the building, I saw someone just running. I'm like, where's that person going? So I just kept walking, kept walking. But as that person got closer, I realized it was him. Oh, I threw my bags down and I ran. Now I knew I could not run him because he was a running back for
Yeah.
ECU. I
Yeah.
could not run him, but I got up out of there and I ran as far as I can. Now this is between classes, so there are a lot of people out there, a lot of people. And so once I got, and I mean, I was running, but as I was running, of course, I had like a hoodie on. And he yanked me by my hoodie, and when he did that, he stood behind me and he was talking in my ear. He was saying some wild things
Mhm.
about me having a boyfriend, which I never dated nobody, but too scared because if
Yeah.
he found me, he would kill both of us. You know,
Yeah.
I felt in my heart that he would have. So so all this stuff that he was telling me in my ear, I was afraid. Now I can people walking by, and I guess they just thought, two friends, a boyfriend or girlfriend fighting or something, and nobody said anything, or did anything or called police. And so he was talking in my ear, and I remember him pulling out what I know was a gun because I could feel the barrel. He was doing this. So I could, of course, feel the barrel against my head here. And so he's the whole time he's talking in my ear and he's telling me, of course, I messed the family up and all sorts of nonsense. But he's still doing this, just talking, and he's just doing this. And I remember saying to him, Derek, whatever you're going to do, please don't do this here. I have to take care of Alexis and DJ. He says, yeah, right. And pull the trigger. And I fell. So close range here. So I have this dent that every time I get my hair, well, people that don't know me, they was like, what is this dent you have here? I was like, oh, that's a bullet hole that went there. And they was like, oh, I'm not going to ask, because it's very deep
Mhm.
here. So, and I fell. And I thank God that during that time I was not unconscious. I knew everything that was going on around me. I could hear everybody screaming and yelling. I remember a lady coming by, thank God for her, who picked up my head and put a garment to that so that I would not bleed out. And it has, because of that lady, I never had to get a blood transfusion.
Oh wow.
Never. And I could, hear people yelling and screaming. And she began to ask me my name and who do I know who did this? And so I began to tell her who had did this. And it wasn't until after the incident that I learned that there were different people doing different things.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a guy who held him down until the police got there, and somebody snatched a gun from him. So everybody was like doing things. I didn't learn this until afterwards. Actually, Pitt Community gave me a party called Shonda's Lifesavers. And I remember them putting lifesavers, like the candy lifesavers with their picture on it. And so I remember, so everybody was doing, different things to help out. But I remember that day telling God, I'm not ready to die.
Mhm. So, and I, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I'm not ready to die. I got two kids. I need to take care of them. But I do know that a long time ago, my grandmother used to say this all the time, that we overcome by one another's testimony.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why we have testimonial service in church, because we can hear the different things that God has done for this person and that person. And I remember talking to God and telling him about my uncle who had got shot in the eye that survived. And I told him, I'm not ready to die. I was 22 years old.
Just beginning.
Just beginning.
Like
I said, I'm not
just
ready.
beginning.
I told him I'm not ready.
So,
My kids, and my kids, the only people at that time I was thinking about. Because at this time I realized they're gonna have a dead mother and a father in prison.
with no one, but well, they would
Well,
have
their
family,
but not the parents.
but so, and I know, like when I was told the story, like it was almost unbelievable, remarkable, because it was point blank.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I know the answer, because it was nobody but God that
Yeah, oh,
the reason
exactly.
why you're
Nobody.
here.
Oh, yes,
But
yes.
medically, what did they say?
Well, they told my mom, my dad that to be grateful she's here,
Mhm.
but that bullet has to stay there. So they could not remove the bullet. The bullet is here in the back of my head. So the way it went in, it's almost like stopped in midair. That's how he described it to my mom, because she would tell me this story. My daddy could never talk about it because daddy felt like he wasn't there. And I told daddy, you don't have nothing to do with this.
Nothing.
Because I didn't tell him anything. So he felt like, I guess, the man of like, I didn't take care of my house, my daughter out here bleeding, I didn't do this, that, and the third. So daddy never talked about it. He never liked to talk about it. And so it was my mom who was telling me that the doctor says that the bullet has to stay there, because if they pulled it out the way it went in, and I don't know, because he was doing this, I have no clue. I never learned that part. The way he was doing this and that, the bullet just stopped somewhere, but I know it's in the back of my head. And she said that they took it out, I'll be paralyzed for the rest of my life. So it's been there
All this time.
all this time. And I know I feel the effects of it with headaches, and I probably get headaches like people would never imagine. This is a migraine times 10.
Yeah, I get those too. I get those.
I tell you, migraine times 10. But
Yeah.
I take medication for it to stop seizures, because I will have seizures.
So all of this, like residual effects from the
Yes.
things that happen.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like I've heard the story so many times. I read the article because when I came home, it was just not believable. Like no. And then I think I've came across you just a couple of times since then. But you looked perfectly normal.
Everybody say you look
So I'm like,
great.
oh well, they must exaggerate it, you know.
Right.
So I guess now because it's still there,
Mm-hmm.
you still feel the effects of
Right.
it. And I know he did go to prison.
He did. He spent 16 years in prison.
Yeah. Now I did come across him because I was a correctional officer at one time.
Okay.
And I remember when you said that he was a great dad.
Yes.
And what he said to me was, did you send him pictures every single year of the kids in school?
Mm-mm.
See, this is what come outside. I wanted to talk to you.
Okay.
Because according to him, that you had no contact with him whatsoever. But somehow he would get pictures of the kids while they were in school, like their school pictures each year. Don't ask me. I didn't, because when I was going to work and he said, "Hey," and I said, "Derek?" He was like, "Yeah," and I was just so shocked because I heard the stories, and I was so shocked to
see him, and then he just kind of, because being person, like, in prison, you rarely come across people that you
Right.
grew up with,
Exactly.
and he just kind of, you know,
Mhm.
and I was like, okay, and I left it at that.
Mhm.
But I was like, I know Shonda's always been dang near a saint, but yeah, she's a saint if she did that. You was a real saint if you did that. But I just, it, for the life of me, I couldn't understand how this fairy tale turned so tragic.
Mhm.
Like I said, I'm very grateful that whatever he did, it didn't take you away from here.
Yes. I'm extremely grateful. I thank God every day. I'm 53. I'll be
Mhm.
54 this year. I never thought I would live to see 53. Never thought I'd live to see 30.
Yeah.
Never thought that those things would happen. So my time was always valuable with my children, with my family. And when I tell people, when I go through life and I tell people I don't hold grudges, oh, I don't hold grudges. Because I remember getting up out of my bed that morning thinking I was coming back home to my kids. Because I remember my son standing at that doorway and said, Mom, you coming back? I said, I'll be back. But I did not come back. I didn't come back till a week later. I spent a week in the hospital.
Wait, so you got shot
Mhm.
in the head,
Mhm.
and
On
you
a
were only in the
Wednesday.
hospital
I
for a
got
week.
shot. I got shot on a Wednesday, and I came home on a Wednesday. Oh, the Lord's been good to me. Oh, He's been good to
See,
me.
let me tell you something.
He's been good to
Let
me.
me tell you something. And we have this discussion quite a bit on Keeping It 100.
Hmm.
I grew up in church. I'm a Christian, and I try to live how, and no, everybody falls short,
We all do.
but for the
Mhm.
most part, I try to be a good person.
Hmm.
And when people tell me, oh, well, I don't believe in God, and I'm like, I got some stories for you. But that story,
Hmm.
if you don't believe in miracles, because I think that's just you're a walking miracle to me. And the fact that you're here
Hmm.
and you're thriving because you left it back there.
Hmm.
Because carrying all that hate
Oh, I had
and
to.
that burden
Oh, I had
forward.
to. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I remember a lot of people, again, I'm in church, my mom, my dad, whole family. But I remember Prophet Kurt Williams, and I'll never forget him. Never forget him. He came at my bedside and he preached love to me.
Mhm.
And he told me, whatever Derek did, he can fall down on his knees tonight and ask God to forgive him, and the Lord will. But you got to be able to do that as well. And
Mhm.
I wasn't receiving that. I'm like,
Mm-mm.
that's all this man did to me. Like I did nothing to
It's
him.
like it's unfaithful.
Right. It is. Like what? What in the world? I think I did was have his kids. I did nothing to this man. And I had to, because at a time in my life, I didn't like who I was. I
Mhm.
didn't like the person that I was, because I felt like I allowed this to continue to happen or to go for so long. And I didn't like who I was. So I went through this whole period of depression where 6 months I never looked into a mirror because I didn't like seeing myself. My mom would go in the bathroom and put up a towel or paper or whatever. So when I went into the shower, I couldn't turn around and look at myself because I would just cry. And she knew it bothered me. For 6 months, I couldn't even look at myself because I felt like I brought this on my children, my family, and I blamed me.
And you felt like it was your fault.
I felt like it was my fault. Although he did the damage.
Although you were taking the abuse,
Right.
you were staying there and helping.
Right.
You were there just to helping him.
Mm-hmm.
Even after everything, you were still helping him.
Mm-hmm.
But we always carry the guilt that we did something
Right.
wrong.
I blamed me.
Yeah.
I blamed myself. And it took years of therapy to realize it wasn't me. But it was a long time. It was a long, dark road. I stayed in depression, oh gosh, for years. It was a dark place for me. But when I tell you that the Lord brought me out of that place, the Lord brought me out of that place. And when I came out of that place, my testimony was I would be able to tell anybody and everybody what the Lord has done for me. Oh, we
Mhm.
got history.
Yeah.
And I know what he has done for me. I know the place that I was being, where I was. I know what I had to deal with. And the therapist, they want to put me on all this medication and I would never take it. And I will put the medication behind the bed because my mother was, oh, she was so distraught. Now she had 11 kids. She had 10 kids, but that one child was just not
Mhm.
what she was supposed to be. And she was always tending to me.
Mhm.
But she got 10 kids over here, but that one child.
But you know the story.
Yeah, I know the
You know the
story.
story. He left that
He left
99
that
to
right
go
and
get
go
that
find
one.
that one.
You know,
So,
because you got to make a mother has to make sure that
oh
it's whole.
yes, yes,
And I'm a
yes,
firm. I truly believe. Just even hearing the story from you, I believe your survival came from the love you have for your kids.
yes, no
Because
doubt.
as a mother, people do not understand the level of love or the
Exactly,
survival that you have when it comes to your kids.
no
And
doubt.
when you were talking about how he was talking to your daughter about, the curse word, bad words and
Mhm,
things like that,
mhm,
as a mother, I think at that time when you said it's the first time you fought back
mhm.
was because you saw that possibly that was headed towards your children.
Exactly.
And I think that right there is what made
Mhm.
you, okay, this is where I stop.
This is where it ends.
This is where it has
That's
to end.
it. And I walked out that day, and I never went back. But I felt like I paid for it with my life. I did. I paid for it with my life because I would say to myself, it sounds so crazy. I just stay. But I never had to deal with, the him, shooting me. I never thought he would go that route.
That right.
Never in a million
Hating
years.
me, making my life
Right.
miserable, yes.
Right.
But going from at one time loving me to wanting me
Leaving me for
dead.
dead. I mean, I remember February the 3rd was a cold day because I had on a hoodie. Had on a hoodie. It was a
Yeah.
cold day and left me there like nothing and just walked away hoping I was dead. And I know that he thought I was dead because I remember us going to court. And the DA said, I will not have you sit here in this room and watch him the whole time. So I sat in another room, but I could hear them. I couldn't see nobody. I could hear them. And I remember walking in that courtroom, and it was like he saw a ghost because somebody told him I died. Yes. I mean, his face, everything. He stood up and they was like, Mr. Cradle, sit down, sit down. Sure did. He thought I was dead. But the DA, I told the DA I wanted to go in there because I wanted him to see what he could not do to me.
Mm.
I wanted him to see that God had his hands on me that day
Whole
and
time.
that he could not do nothing to me. And I wanted him to see that. So I walked in there and I'm telling you, he's like he saw a ghost. And it was just my time to say, you can't do nothing to me. You could not do this to me.
But
And
people don't believe that at that point is a strength that you never thought you could get
never
back.
thought, never. That's the
When you
truth.
can look at somebody who did something to you
Mm-hmm.
and say, and they're looking like I did everything humanly possible
Mm-hmm.
to take you out, to put you in a different space,
Mm-hmm.
and here you are, and that's why come I named this interview "Surviving Strong,"
That's
because you literally
yes,
came back better than ever.
yes,
And I truly, one thing, I'm grateful that you're still here.
yes.
I was so disheartened. I mean, like heartbroken to even know that you went through
Yeah.
something like that, especially from someone who we all admired
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and who we felt like was going to take the best care of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there is nothing like having a friend and realizing, because I know we all moved away and
Mm-hmm.
had our own separate lives, but we have a bond because we were kids together.
Exactly.
And to
Exactly.
know that someone hurt someone that that you care about,
Right. Right.
it does something to you,
Right. Right.
And I'm like, yeah, we cared about him too,
Mm-hmm.
because we got to know him, but we were, fresh out of diapers,
Right. Yeah.
um and so I know, and I'm, like I said, I'm grateful that you survived,
Mm-hmm.
and I admire what you've turned your ashes into. Like, you're now, I mean, I know you were a traveling nurse,
Mm-hmm.
and now you have your own businesses. So we're going to switch gears real quick, and I want you to tell everybody exactly what you have going on. And I know right now, first of all, we're going to talk about the real estate, because right now the market's not too good right now.
Oh, the market's the best. It's really,
It's
always
gonna,
a good time for real estate.
it's gonna always be a good time to buy, depending on what
always.
side of the fence you're on.
Right.
So what is your business called? Is it just Shonda?
Well, it's Respire Consulting,
Okay.
respiring others to invest in real estate.
Okay.
So yes, so I'll go back a few. So I graduated. So when I started nursing school,
Mm-hmm.
I had a very hard time starting nursing school because again, that mental abuse is a beast, and I felt like I could not do this. And I remember I was at Pitt Community College, and the doctor told my mother that I would not be able to read past fifth grade. And he said to her, said, listen, don't expect any miracles. Don't expect, just be glad that she's here. And my mother did not want me to go to school. And I'm like, Mom, you can't take care of me forever, you know? And she was like, I bet I can. I'm like, Mom, you can. I mean, like, now it's me and I have these two kids. I got to take care of my kids. And so, yes, it was true. I could not read past fifth grade.
Oh, wow.
I could not. So I enrolled when I enrolled at Beaufort Community College. The first degree, well, the LPN, and I backed out. So the second degree I got was a medical office assistant, and so I worked in that. But it took me a long time. I always want to encourage people. Listen, you can do this. You just got to put your mind to it. You can do this. I'm telling you, from a person with a bullet that lies in the back of my head, that you can do this. It took more from me. I had to study more, I had to do a little bit more, but I know that it was something I needed to do because it fueled me because of those two kids that looked up to me all the time
Exactly.
and wanted to know what we're going to do now, that kind of stuff, especially my daughter. What we're going to do now. And so I wanted to be able to, I don't know, just let them know, just for them to be proud of me, for them to, to say that, yeah, Mom did this, or, we did that, or, I mean, just wanted them to feel comfortable with that because they always hear me talking about the accident. So I just wanted the story to be a little different,
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense.
So anyways, I enrolled there, but they told me that I would not read past fifth grade. Told my mother that would not happen. And I had a hard time. I remember taking a reading class 5 times. And I remember the teacher said, if you have a disability, sit to the front of the class. But I told God, if anybody's going to get glory out of this, it's going to be you. And this is what I want you to do for me. I believe you. I trust you. We've already been through this. So I want to be able to graduate from school. And this is how I'm talking to God. I want to do this. And so I was afraid to go back into nursing because, again, I'm hearing what Derek is telling me, that I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't good enough. I mean, all these different things he would tell me. And so I did end up graduating from getting a medical office degree, but I wasn't happy because I've always wanted to be that nurse. Always wanted to be a nurse. And so I right after I graduated, I told my mom I want to go back to school. She was like, "You just finished." I said, "Mom, I want that nursing degree." And so I enrolled in some of the community college. Well, at this time, I had to move away. I had to move away from my family. I felt like if I was going to do anything, I needed a fresh start. I didn't want to go too far because my family was still here, just enough for me to drive back home. So I ended up doing that.
Did they feel like they were it was a crutch for you, so
Yes.
you had to move away
Yes.
where you had to depend on yourself.
Yes,
Gotcha.
I had to do this myself
Mhm.
because, like I said, my mom, there are 10 kids, but she's like, no, baby, that's too much. The doctor said, and she just thought it was too much. So
Wow.
I
Mhm.
had to move away. And so when I did, I enrolled in a community college, and I thought, oh gosh, that's gonna take me forever. Now I'm almost in my 30s, and this is gonna take me forever. So I ended up enrolling at North Carolina Central University. And when I enrolled in school, I remember the teacher saying, if you have a disability, you got to sit to the front row. But I would never do that. I
Mhm.
would never sit to the front row. And I ended up graduating from North Carolina Central University in 2005 with honors.
Wow.
With
Shout out to
honors.
the Eagles.
Stuck at the Eagles. So I graduated from in the National Nurses Honor Society. I was inducted to the National Nurses Honor Society, and I also graduated Sigma, I mean, cum laude, cum laude.
Mm.
Yes, I did. So,
Well, congratulations, Shonda. What a way to turn! Like, I know you should take your. This might be petty, but take your degree back over to the doctor that told you what to read past fifth grade.
Doctor told me I
Just
would
give him a
not do
copy.
that.
Just give him a copy of it.
Exactly. And like I said, I never sat to the front row, never listened to the teacher say, if you got a disability, because I never want them to think that they did this. And I told God, this is all you.
Yeah.
This is all you.
You. All you.
I'm not doing anything. This is all you. Whether I fail or not, this is all you. And I end up graduating, and I cried the whole time. Even when I got pinned, it was only when I got pinned I told my my colleagues what happened to me, and they looked at me like, "What? You lying? What kind of mess is that?" But it was the truth.
So, and I know the joy of letting your kids seeing you go
Mhm.
from this
Yes.
to this.
Yes.
Had
Yeah.
to be the best feeling in the world.
I cried the whole day. I cried the whole day. Even when I remember doctor handing me my diploma, well, that piece of paper, he was like, "You're gonna be okay." I'm like, "I'm not." So yeah.
But it's that people don't understand. Sometimes, to me, crying is purging.
Yes,
Like you
that's
have
true.
to,
Right.
know the difference. I've come to understand the different tears.
That's correct.
There are so many different tears you can cry, but when you cry that tear of pure joy, it doesn't. Well, some tears burden you. Some it just enlighten you, and it just shows you that clear path that I did exactly what I came here to do.
Exactly.
So I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Yeah. It was a, oh my goodness, it was a fun filled day, and like I said, it was just, I was just overwhelmed. I was overjoyed. I mean, it was just so many emotions, because as at this point where I felt like I was over those voices of Derek telling me I could not do this, and I end up doing this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I cried all day.
and to me, it seems like, that fateful day, February 3rd, 1993, the old Shonda left, and that new Shonda showed up.
That's right.
When you went home with that new, and then I know it took a minute for that newfound faith and belief in yourself to kick in.
Right.
But when it did, there was no stopping. There was no stopping.
Like my daughter would say, all gas, no brakes. That's right.
So again, what else do you have going on? I mean, I know you have so many.
Oh my goodness.
I know I saw you retired from nursing.
Retired from travel.
From travel nursing.
Yeah, because
you were all over the place.
Yes. So I got into travel nursing so many years ago, and I thought, I'm just going to do this for a little while. One of my friends was telling me, you know what? You can still make good money on the road and still do the same thing. I'm like, how much are good money? Because that's what I was listening to.
Good money.
That's a good money. And she was like, yeah, you can still do this, but you got to leave. I'm like, go where? She said, you go from state to state, and everything is paid for. You don't have to do anything but work. I'm like, I can see the world without paying a dime. She's like, basically, yeah.
Mhm.
And so that's what ended up happening. So at that time, I told my family this is what I wanted to do, and they was like, of course, my mom, they're like, that's too much. That's too much. Take your medicine. My family called me, are you okay? Are you eating? Are you, I'm like, fam, I'm good. I'm good. And so what I did, I started in North Carolina. So I think I worked at every hospital in North Carolina.
Uh-huh.
I started there, got my children got my children on board, and they were good with it. They was like, okay, mom, because some of the places I went, I actually brought them out to me because you can take your family with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can travel with your family. I know there were plenty of nurses who homeschool their kids, and they travel with their kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they just want you to work, and so it was supposed to just be 5 years, and that 5 years turned into 17 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, because I've been a nurse for 19 years. So that I stayed on the as a staff nurse for 2 years, just learning nursing. Those 2 years, I went on the road.
Now, did I see a picture of you in Egypt? Or is it the Jordan River?
Jordan, yeah, I went to Israel.
Wow.
Gosh, I love international
Oh,
traveling.
yeah, I do too.
I love international traveling. So I've been over the United States. I've been everywhere
Yeah.
because of the nursing. I always tell people I can tell you where I haven't been versus where I have been. So I've been so many states until I want to go out of state. I want to go out of state. And so I've been to Israel twice. Africa, I am Senegalese.
Really? You did the whole DNA
Yeah, I
thing?
did. Well,
Uh,
actually, what I did when I got to the Africa is it's just beautiful. Forget about that whole jungle stuff. It's not
It's
that
not.
jungle stuff.
It's
Oh
not.
my goodness. It is so beautiful.
Yes.
And I remember when I went there, I said, I want to go to the village. And so what we did, we went to the village because I wanted to spend my money there, not in the city. Because when you spend your money in a city, it's just a lot of people, from Europe, and they sell things. But the village is where you have those single moms down there making jewelry, trying to sell, feeding their
Mhm.
kids or whatever. So I wanted to spend my money there in the village. And when I got there, the tour guide that we were with, he was like, they're from America, and everybody's excited when they hear, you're from America, you're from the States. They say the States, not America. You're from the States. And so there was a guy, I guess he had to be at least 90 years old.
Mm.
So he was recording everybody that come by. And so what he would do, he would carve your name on this piece of wood and put it on a necklace. And they had this whole ceremony for us. And he was like, now you are Senegalese. I loved it.
And we're trying to go.
I love it.
We're trying
You
to go.
have to go.
And my sister's trying to, and everybody's on board.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, of course, Vietnam vet. He's like, that's too long a flight for me.
Oh, it was a long flight.
Oh, it is. It's not. Look, I thought Germany was a long flight. My sister told me how long it was. I'm like, two.
Oh, it was a long flight.
I said we're gonna drug him like they did Mr. T, and
Oh,
he's gonna
yes.
wake up in Africa.
Oh yeah.
So now, I know. So you've been to Africa, and you've pretty much seen the world.
Turkey,
Okay.
I love Turkey. I wasn't
I
gonna
heard
go to
that was
Turkey.
nice.
Beautiful place, very beautiful place. Although I almost had a heart attack in Turkey. Well, so they're like 99% Muslim,
Mhm.
but they do this call to prayer. And it scared the life out of me. We were sitting there eating, and when they get ready to call to prayer, nobody does anything. Everybody just drop what they're doing, put their mats down, and they pray. So we have to stand there and wait. But this loud system, I thought Jesus was coming back, and I'm in Turkey. I thought, oh my God, the Lord coming back.
So it's like a loud siren.
It was a loud siren.
Because it's for the whole entire
it was
city.
for the whole, yes. It was a lot. I don't know who's doing that. But everybody just stopped what they're doing. We couldn't get our food because they had to pray. I thought I was gonna die. I thought this is where the Lord was coming back into. But I had the best time in Turkey. I had the best time. Yeah.
Wow.
I had a good
So
time.
pretty much your whole story has come not quite full circle
Not
because
quite.
we're still here. We're still here. But the path that is taken since all of that stuff happened
Mhm.
has been remarkable.
Oh yes, and it would not had been had it not been for this prophet. His name again, Prophet Kurt Williams, who preached love to me,
Hmm.
because I had to learn how to forgive.
Hmm.
Because if I couldn't, I was gonna bear all this weight, this hatred that I had for this person that I only tried to do good to.
Hmm.
And I could not do that and move forward and raise my kids.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to forgive and to move forward. Because if not, there's no way I would have been still in that very dark place.
So, real quick before we finish up, um, how was the relationship as far as his family is concerned? Is there a relationship there?
I wouldn't say a relationship. They were cordial.
Okay.
We're cordial.
Okay.
Um, I've never had any issues with his siblings or his parents or anybody. So we're cordial. When they see me, it's hi, how you doing? Hugging. My daughter celebrate her 30th birthday, and she invited them to come, so they were all there.
Hmm.
Um, um, so it's cordial. It's
Yeah.
cordial.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's
Well,
good.
when I say all of them, I mean the siblings, not Derek. He's
No.
no, this is not
No,
coming around.
no,
No,
no, no. Well, that was a given. That was a given. I was talking about the
the
siblings, the
sibling,
mom
yeah,
and
they're
dad,
fine.
things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I will tell you, Shonda, thank you so much. You have christened our studio. I really appreciate you coming on
Oh,
and
no
just
doubt.
clearing up a lot of stuff because, you know, all of Greenville knows who we are.
Yes, yes.
And the story that I was told by so many people
Mm.
and was the going story, of everything that happened.
Mhm.
And the fact that you not only cleared up that whole situation, but you gave clarity to not only me but everybody else
Mhm.
of how you went from this fairy tale to almost a nightmare.
Right, right.
And I appreciate your open, and honest conversation, and bearing all for keeping it 100.
Mhm.
We so appreciate you coming through.
Oh, no
I
doubt.
love you
Thank
so
you. Oh, I
much,
love you
and
too.
thank you,
Oh,
thank you so much for
oh,
coming.
you're
I
so
really appreciate it.
welcome.
And please know that we do I'll start doing like the round tables.
Okay.
And I do love your spirit. I do love, especially when you talk about marriage, relationships, God. And so please be open to coming back and talking to
Yes,
us,
I would
talking
love
to
to
other
do that.
people.
I would love
I
to
really
do that.
appreciate it. Well, tonight, you guys, thank you so much for joining Keeping It 100. This is Shonda. I'm just elated that she came through. I really am. This is a longtime friend of mine. Thanks to Insight TV for always hooking us up and making sure that we streaming live. But until next time, you guys, take care. Bye.
Okay.